Would you trust me if I told you that these can kill you? But is it actually that true when YouTubers are saying that these things are only bringing harmful things to your body? Fortunately, it is not true as well, because those things might be even crucial for your life. I would even say essential for your body to function. YouTubers are always calling high carb containing food junk, and that is very harmful, and it is absolutely no use for your body. But is it actually true? You are on GG Medical, and today we will try to answer this question. Before we start, we need to clarify what actually this sugar is. From the chemical point of view, it's just a polymers of glucose bound together by chemical bonds. But what happens to them when we eat those, as soon as we ingest them? Actually, glucose is present not only in chocolate, but it is also present in anything that contains carbohydrates. Even milk, which is having galactose, and others like pasta, pizza, cheese, bread, and so on. After consuming the carbs, we are digesting some of it in our oral cavity, and it continues in the stomach, and it is most importantly in the intestines. The most important part of the digestion process is in the intestines, where we have those brush border enzymes which are cutting the dimers and polymers of sugars into smaller subunits which are later on digested and obviously after that absorbed. After digestion, those smaller subunits are being absorbed in our enterocytes, which are the lining of our intestines, and eventually they are reaching blood. In the blood, the circulating levels of glucose are sensed by the endocrine pancreas, which are releasing insulin from its beta cells. Insulin is released to lower the blood glucose levels by increasing the uptake of the glucose into adipose tissue, muscle tissue, and other tissues. It stimulates glycogen synthesis so that glucose can be stored, and glycogen, as we know, is just a polymer of glucose which is inside our body for its storage form. When we don't eat for a long time, the levels of glucose start falling. The same endocrine pancreas releases glucagon, which higher the glucose levels. Not only glucagon does so, so does norepinephrine, epinephrine, thyroid hormones, and many others. But why is glucose so important for our body? You see, this is a complicated mechanism of regulating one molecule levels in our blood. Actually, the level of the glucose inside the blood is something around 4 millimoles per liter, 4 to 6 actually, if you want a range. But why does our body need to control the glucose so much? Well, when you're consuming glucose, your cells uptake the glucose and utilize it as the main source of energy most of the tissues. Most importantly are your brain cells, your cardiomyocytes, your liver cells, and many others. And glucose is the main molecule, at least one of the main molecules, which is used for your body to get ATP. And as we know, ATP is a universal energy source for the organism and cells in general. Now, when we know how our body deals with glucose, maybe let's talk about what happens if we consume too much glucose. Well, if you constantly overload yourself with tremendous amounts of glucose, this is a very common problem, by the way, in the developed countries, that stimulates the production of the insulin over and over and over and over again. And your receptors for insulin stop being so sensitive for the insulin. And therefore, you are developing something which is called insulinoresistance. Therefore, glucose remains in the blood in a very high levels. And this is where all goes wrong. This pathology is called diabetes mellitus type 2, if we are talking about insulinoresistance. Diabetes type 1 basically is when your beta cells of the pancreas are being destroyed by the autoimmune process, which disables them actually to release insulin. Therefore, the effects of insulin cannot be reached. Reminder, insulin lowers the glucose level inside the blood. So if we do not have insulin, or if we develop insulinoresistance, glucose just stays inside the blood in the high levels. That's not what we want to achieve. But why? Why do those people who have diabetes constantly monitor their blood glucose levels? Why do they need to undergo so complicated treatments? I don't know, run blood tests and stuff like that. Why? You might say that obviously they need to control it, and I would say exactly. But yes, that's actually true. They need to control it. But why? Why is the high level of glucose so harmful? Let me just read you some of those side effects from the high levels of glucose in your body. Neuropathy, nephropathy, visual problems, retinal detachment, microaneurysms in the retinal vessels, vascular problems, poor wound healing and increasing risk of infections, increased risk of atherosclerosis, the most common risk factor for the coronary artery disease, which causes myocardial infarction, for strokes and many other problems. This makes diabetes an evil, evil disease, especially if it is not monitored. And this is the reason why people care about high glucose levels in the blood so much. Officially, around 10% of the world population nowadays, more than 500 million people right now have diabetes. And I assume that there is even twice as much people who do not even know that they have diabetes, or they will not know it until some serious symptoms develop. So going back to this drink over here, should you actually think twice before drinking it? Well, I don't know. I'll drink it anyways. As you can see, I don't give a damn about what I just said, but I do not advise you to do that. Diabetes is actually a serious concern nowadays, and don't let your sugar dependence ruin your life. Stop uncontrollably eating sugar. You must think about your life. You must think about the health, because remember, health is the most important thing we got. Ending it in here. I hope this video was a little bit interesting for you. Please leave a like, please subscribe to our channel, because we are only at the start of our journey and we're trying to develop our channel into a very big one in the future, hopefully. And I hope that you will join us in this journey, and I'll see you next time.